Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. All right, so we're going to continue pulling on this Prince Andrew thread for a while here in the mornings, I guess, because this news is coming in hot and heavy right now. So, they made it look like he was stepping down from his duties, right? But we discussed it yesterday. He was fired by the Queen and the Prince of Wales. So they got together and they decided that what was best for the royal family was to make Andrew step back out of public life and basically face the music, because that's what's happening right now. So there was all kinds of rumors and different sources talking about how Andrew was going to get off of all of these charges, how he was never going to have to face the music. Well, guess what? When you keep the pressure on and you keep your foot on the pedal, you continue to accelerate. And that's what we're doing in this case. We're accelerating things. We're moving. It's moving faster now than I ever thought it was going to. And I'll tell you what, it's taking a life of its own. Because once one domino falls and these people start ratting on each other and turning on each other and snitching on each other, like always happens in these sort of situations, who knows what we're going to unearth. Furthermore, what is on all of those tapes that were taken out of Epstein's home? What is all that evidence? They took thousands of pictures. Who are the girls in those pictures? Is anyone tracking down those girls in the pictures to see if they, where they are? We haven't heard anything about any of that. So that's something that I would really like to see more of. And it's hard for us to really have all the details if we don't have all the facts if we don't have all the details, right? So, all right, so let's jump into this article and see what the Daily Beast has to say about Prince Andrew and him being forced into retirement, basically. The headline, Inside a Royal Hit, How Palace Fear of U.S. Epstein Probe Forced the Queen to Fire Prince Andrew. Disgraced royal Prince Andrew is preparing to give evidence to the Jeffrey Epstein inquiry in the U.S., and courtiers at Buckingham Palace believe a demand for testimony may be imminent. Bam! How about that? How about that, folks? And see, here's the difference with Andrew. He's not dealing with Lisa Bloom. He's not dealing with Gloria Allred. He's dealing with Chuck Cooper. And remember, Chuck Cooper is not one of these sensationalist lawyers. Chuck Cooper is a real trial attorney. Chuck Cooper is the kind of guy that will go balls to the wall and bring you down, because that's just his MO. See, we have in America, for those that aren't living here, some of these lawyers are rock stars themselves, right? These guys are just the type of people that they walk into a courtroom and the defense knows that they're in for some trouble. And that's what's going on with Chuck Cooper. If he's the one that gets to cross-examine and ask Andrew questions, it's going to be big, huge, gigantic trouble for Andrew. Andrew made it clear in his resignation statement that he would cooperate with law enforcement as they investigated Epstein. The Daily Telegraph reported Thursday that Buckingham Palace is braced for U.S. authorities to issue the Duke with a subpoena, requesting he gives testimony under oath about his friendship with Epstein. Bam! How about that, folks? Rejoice, right? We got to take the small victories when we get them in this case, because we all know that what we're up against here, we're not just up against a couple of rich people, we're up against the whole entire elite establishment. Following his statement, Andrew would have little choice but to comply. Gloria Allred, the celebrity lawyer representing some of Epstein's alleged victims, was quick to demand Andrew voluntarily contact U.S. authorities. Now remember, Allred is not defending Roberts. All right, so just remember that. Bloom or Allred are not involved with Roberts. Was quick to demand Andrew voluntarily contact U.S. authorities without conditions and without delay. Asking the question, is he insisting that he be served with a subpoena to testify, or is he willing to speak to law enforcement without being legally required to do so? Well, that is a valid point. Is he going to talk to them of his own free will, or does he need to be subpoenaed? That's pretty important. Now, if he forces them to subpoena him, then once again, it just looks bad for him. It just keeps looking bad for him. Look, I'm no public relations expert. Anybody who knows me in my real life knows my fat mouth gets me in a lot of trouble. But I'm not a royal, right? I'm not running around involved in trafficking rings. I just, happen to have a fat mouth. Hey, Bobby, do you work out? I run my mouth a lot. That's such the threat of subpoena should be hanging over Andrew goes a long way to explaining his mystifying decision to give an hour-long interview to one of the UK's most feared political interviewers. It was widely speculated after Andrew did the ill-advised sit-down that he had done it because he suspected he was about to be subpoenaed by U.S. authorities. Wow. Andrew had hoped, according to the theory, to get out ahead of any such action. He hoped the interview would allow him to win over public opinion before law enforcement closed in. Holy Toledo, folks. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Just, put on your looking into the future glasses right now and imagine what it would look like to see this guy getting perp walked out of Buckingham Palace. In the end, of course, the interview had the opposite effect, and by his haughty manner, extraordinary denials, provably false claims, unwillingness to regret his friendship with Epstein, and failure to express any sympathy for Epstein's victims, Andrew dug his own grave. And that's what we talked about as soon as this interview happened, right? We were talking about it right away, the empathy situation, and how this was a bad look for him. And it was, we were spot on in our analysis. There are certain situations where you don't have to be some sort of insider to see what's happening. If you just have a basic knowledge of what's going on in the case and you've been following a case, you could see the writing on the wall. And the writing is clear in this case, folks. The writing is clear. Now, if they bring in Prince Andrew and they subpoena him to testify, I honestly have no idea why they wouldn't just slap the RICO title on this case. Again, the RICO statute gives them so much power to be intrusive. The brutal ouster, when it came, was worthy of the nickname the royals used for themselves, the Firm. Late Wednesday afternoon, Prince Andrew issued the statement that brought his public life to an end. He claimed it was his decision and that he had sought the Queen's permission to withdraw from public duties for the foreseeable future, but the truth was far from that. Royal briefings are making it very clear today that he was fired, and their termination is permanent. One insider said, the bottle of whiskey and the pearl-handled revolver were laid out for him, and they were laid out for him by his mother, the source told the Daily Beast. But behind his mother's brutal sacking, many detect the guiding hand of Prince Charles, who has sought to exclude Andrew. But behind his mother's brutal sacking, many detect the guiding hand of Prince Charles, who has sought to exclude Andrew from the royal family since 2012, and who finally seized the opportunity Wednesday. All right, so we have some royal bloodletting going on as well. And I'm no expert on the current royal situation over there. I've really stopped having interest in the English royalty basically after the Plantagenets. But there's obviously a bloodletting going on over there. We know that Charles and Andrew have never really been, best of buddies, I guess. And now he sees his opportunity and he's seizing on it. The Queen has been locked in phone calls with Charles, who is on tour in New Zealand since the crisis broke. Writer Penny Junner, who has worked closely with Charles on biographies and is a trusted confidant of the palace, told the Daily Beast that she suspected Charles had played a significant role in the hit, saying, I imagine there might have been a bit of pressure on him to make this announcement, and I suspect it might have come from his older brother. Well, yeah, look, one less claimant and rival to the crown, right? Even though he's eighth in line. Look, you know how these people think. Once again, it's all about power consolidation, and you see with the royal family, let's not give them too much credit here, right? What they're doing is they're making a move for their public image. If there was no blowback and they knew that he was hanging out with Epstein and people weren't going crazy about it, he'd still be out there in the public eye. He'd still be doing his duties. Andrew was quickly pulled from a scheduled visit to flood victims in northern England as plans for his demise were sealed. He was summoned to Buckingham Palace from his home in Windsor on Wednesday afternoon, where he was told it was over. Andrew was told he was no longer to have any frontline duties representing the family. He was told he was to stand down immediately from his 200 charitable patronages. He was told that he would immediately lose his $250,000 per annum grant. The one crumb of comfort came when the Duke was told he would still be welcome at family occasions, so expect to see him at Sandringham walking to church on Christmas Day. Aw, little Prince got a crumb thrown to him, Mommy's favorite little boy. He's still gonna get to go to church. Aw, isn't that cute? Meanwhile, Virginia Roberts is dealing with a lifetime of mental issues because of this sick bastard. Like all well-executed hits, Andrew, a friend told the Daily Beast, had no idea was about to happen. Look, it looks like the mafia. He didn't even get a chance to take off his pinky ring and his Rolex before he got in the car to get clipped. Indeed, he was planning a trip to the Middle East this weekend as part of his business startup program. In fact, according to the Queen's biographer, Robert Hardman, writing in the Daily Mail today, the Queen and Charles reached their decision Tuesday night when Andrew became a subject of discussion in a BBC debate between rival politicians Boris Johnson and Jeremy Corbyn, who are squaring up for an election on December 12th. Look, I'm not too hip on English politics, but Jeremy Corbyn seems to be a bit of an anti-Semite to me. And his pronouncing of Epstein's name as Epstein is definitely a dog whistle. So if you guys are over there in England, I mean, I know you guys aren't really huge fans of Boris Johnson either, and I guess I don't know too much about him, but Jeremy Corbyn definitely strikes me as somebody who really is not a friend to Jewish people. And remember, that doesn't mean you have to be a friend to think the Jewish government is always doing the right thing, but there's no room for painting any one group of people as the way some of these, slick people over here in, certain parts of the government, in the American government too. Believe me, there's plenty of dog whistlers in this American government when it comes to Jewish people. And it's sad, right? It's really sad that there's still people that act like that in the year 2019. We should all of us be focused. That doesn't matter what color you are, religion, whatever. We should all be focused on getting the shackles that the elites put on us off of us. It's not about hating our neighbors, all right? It's not about, our neighbor's this or our neighbor's that. That's so ridiculous. A member of the public asked the leaders whether the monarchy was fit for purpose. Corbyn's sly response was, "It needs a bit of improvement," and got a thunderous response. That the monarchy should be a bona fide talking point in a general election was a huge red flag and a reminder of 1992, when the Queen apologized to the Prime Minister, John Major, that the breakdown of the marriage between the Duke and Duchess of York intruded on the election. It seems another such apology, necessitated by the same member of the royal family, may be necessary this time. Look, England, folks, I love you guys over there, but this whole thing with the royals just so weird. So weird. Unbelievably, just 24 minutes after Andrew's statement had been released, the Queen was making a public appearance, presenting her old friend, Sir David Attenborough, with a Lifetime Achievement Award. She even managed to crack a joke, and there was laughter as she told the TV legend, "Sir David, this award recognizes your many talents, and one can't help but feel that, for those of us of a certain generation, we can take great pleasure in proving age is no barrier to being a positive influence." Look, I'm not going to pile onto the Queen. She's an old lady. She really probably doesn't even have control of the palace anymore. These guys are all running amok. So I'm not gonna pile on the Queen per se, but the royal family in general, I will never understand the whole entire the fixation with this royal family. The Queen kept a smile pasted on her face throughout, but don't mistake that for any pleasure at Andrew's demise. She will be devastated at the tragedy that has befallen her favorite son just a few months short of his 60th birthday. In a bitter irony, yesterday marked what should have been a joyous day of celebration as it marked the Queen's 72nd wedding anniversary. Hey, Mom, here's a nice anniversary present. I'm caught up in a sexual assault scandal that involves underage girls. Woohoo! Yet just minutes after one of the most sickening decisions of her career, Her Majesty was doing exactly what being the perfect royal requires, sublimating her emotions to the service of the crown. The contrast with Andrew could hardly be greater, and now he has the rest of his life to ponder what might have been. Well, there you guys go. Not only is he stepping out of public life, he is now he's at the point where a subpoena is imminent. So we're going to keep our eye on this throughout the day, and in the coming days, we'll keep posting, as these stories are breaking, I'll record, episodes as they break so we can stay on top of this, right? The whole entire point of this podcast is to recover this in real time, and I'm going to do my best to bring that to you folks. All right, once again, if you would like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's Bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. And if you would like to support the show, we have a GoFundMe link inside of the description box, and we definitely would love your support. Either way, if just share the show with your friends, share the content, and help us keep growing and getting that message out there. All right, everybody, I will be back later on with more updates. I hope everybody enjoys their Thursday.